John Wick Chapter 4 was fucking awesome. Typically, when a series goes on for this long, you begin to see a dip in quality in some form or another. For some reason though, John Wick just continues to be the exception to that rule, with each entry being more over the top and entertaining than the last. And I think that works a lot to its benefit. I can't really think of one John Wick movie that is just outright better than another, because they all have different things that they appeal to. For example, if you're looking for a more grounded, realistic-ish action film, then 1 and 2 are probably more for you. But if you're looking for what I like to call action absurdity, then 3 and 4 are definitely more your speed. I bring this up because Chapter 4 is the perfect representation of escalation in an entertaining way. For the most part, at least. Keanu Reeves, as usual, impresses as the character both due to his talent for action, but also his stoicism that is basically trademarked at this point.
Guys, if you could take
Okay?
60.
You're that guy, pal. Trust me. You're that guy.
Okay.
Okay?
Are you?
Absolutely.
He is what he's always been in this series, a great choice. In fact, there really isn't much to say about most of the characters simply due to everyone being just as solid as you remember them.
Nice. Nice.
For the returning cast, there isn't a single misstep. For the new additions, they fit into this world easily and are just as great as their predecessors. As someone who has a deep-rooted love for guns, cars, and martial arts, this series feels handcrafted for me. Which is why I'm going to have to stick to nitpicking and talking about why, even though this movie was definitely a great watch, I wish they had gotten a little more creative in some areas. The price for the escalation in action comes in a small bit of meandering of people in the background as they try to be in the right place at the right time for a given stunt. Granted, it's disguised very well so you more than likely wouldn't even notice it, but when you've seen these movies back to back in rapid succession, you become more aware of it.
Fool me once. Shame on you. If fool me, we can't get fooled again.
By now, we're all very much aware of John Wick's skill with any sort of weaponry, but there's only so many judo throws and pistol disarms that I can watch before I clock out a bit. I found myself the most engaged when there was an extra factor in the fight that made it interesting. For example, the fight with the nunchucks added extra flair to the scene and made it stick out to me more, simply because there's an extra factor in this fight that we're watching. We already know he can kick everybody's ass, but just watching him use a new weapon made it cooler. Or the fight that took place in the Arc de Triomphe, which added the extra element of cars crashing into people. There's also the one-take gunfight that happens when the camera looks down on the apartment with the bird's eye view, a sequence that's ripped straight out of a video game. Each example I just described provided some element that enhanced the action and gave us something new for the franchise. The parts that drag on just a little bit are the fights in between these, when John is just mowing down wave after wave of people doing more or less the same moves. Another side effect that this lack of escalation has is that it makes things feel done before, perfectly shown by Mr. Nobody. Just as a side note, this has nothing to do with the actor's performance. As I said before, everybody in this movie did great, acting-wise. However, the spice, I'm just calling it spice because that's the best thing I can think of right now, but hopefully you get the point, that his character had was that he had a dog with him, which is cool and ties into the themes of the whole series, and John as a character and all that, yeah, I get it. The problem is just that we've seen it done already in Chapter 3 with Sophia, as she had 2 of them. I think that giving it just the right amount of difference so that Mr. Nobody feels unique is an important aspect that just wasn't there for me. Like, give him a bird or something, I don't know, something that can, like, scratch somebody's eyes out. I don't care what it is, just make it different so that the escalation is there, so that there's spice on the character. It's like doing a backflip. Backflips will always be cool, but at some point, someone is gonna ask, well, what else can you do? And if the answer is another backflip, then it just kind of becomes old. Mind you, these adjustments don't have to be huge, just something we haven't seen before. Fuck it, let's get ridiculous. Let's see John Wick fight multiple people with one arm tied behind his back. Or maybe like a light parkour chase.
Parkour!
Because Keanu ain't exactly young anymore, where he's running and shooting and doing all his tricks, but in motion trying to keep up with someone or escape them. Just something. But all of that incredible nitpicking aside, the movie overall was great, as I'm sure you've already heard from everyone and their grandmother. But anyway, thank you for watching. I'll try to have something more conversational next time. It's just really hard to nitpick something I like this much. Unfortunately, that means I'll probably have to watch something bad, but I'll cross that bridge when I get to it. Also, I plan on doing a comparison video between the Last of Us game and show on a much larger scale so that I can get my full thoughts across, being able to show you scenes from the show and the game and talk about why I prefer the game a lot more. But yeah, thanks for watching.